Your essential question for lesson 6.1 is, how did art in Europe change during the Renaissance? So where did the Renaissance begin? The Renaissance, as well as other major changes we are discussing in this unit, all took place in Western Europe, as shown on this map. The Renaissance and this style of art first started in Italy and then began to spread north and into other parts of Europe. So here is Italy, and then it started to spread to places like Germany and France and the United Kingdom. Okay, so here we go. There's Western Europe, Italy, and then it spread to other parts of Western Europe. So the Renaissance started in Italy for several reasons. So one, the ancient Roman ruins are there, which inspired the comeback of this style of art. Okay, there were a lot of big cities there, so there were more people to make and buy art. A lot of rich people lived there who could afford to buy art, and they could afford to have art commissioned by these painters. And then the Italian city-states were kind of competitive with each other, and they all wanted to prove that they had the best artists. And also during this time, like, the cities were growing, so there was a big urbanization. So here is Rome, where Rome in Italy, right? But we also have some other famous cities like Florence, as well as Venice. Okay, so did you know that the Ninja Turtles are all named after Italian Renaissance artists? So here they are, and we have Leonardo da Vinci. He was an artist and a scientist, which is why we call him a Renaissance man. He painted the Mona Lisa and many other famous paintings. We have Raphael. He was a painter, and this is his Madonna and Child, right? So it's kind of like a Mary and Jesus type of painting, influenced by humanism. We have Donatello. So he was a sculptor. This is his bronze version of the David. So this is the biblical David from David and Goliath. This is how he created the statue. And then we have Michelangelo, and he was a sculptor and a painter, and this is his marble version of the David, which we saw in our humanism discussion. So these two are the Davids. And all of these four artists are very famous Renaissance artists. So during the Renaissance, we saw a change in artistic techniques, right? So here we have Raphael's Madonna and Child, right? So we can see perspective in the background because the trees look really small. And in the distance, right, we can see chiaroscuro because there's some shading on the woman's face on one side and light on the other, as well as in her clothes, right? The back side of the baby also shows chiaroscuro. We can see proportionality because the baby and the mom are the correct size in relation to each other, right? This looks like the size of a realistic baby, right? And same with a realistic woman. And so this is more of a secular painting or non-religious painting, right? Because it's showing like a mom and a baby. And we can also see it was influenced by humanism because we have like the baby's emotions. They're looking up at the mom lovingly. And then we have a book here that might be also influenced by humanism and like this and learning that was happening during this time, right? Whereas over here we have the medieval art, and this is clearly Mary and Jesus, right? Because they have the halos. We see that there's a background that's missing. You know, the baby is not proportional. He kind of looks like a giant man, right? Not a baby. And then we don't know what he's looking at or where they're looking. And so these two are very similar paintings or the same painting, but one shows more of the artistic techniques of the Renaissance that make it look more realistic and also how it's been influenced by humanism, whereas this is more like church art and we see a lack of like technique in the drawings. Okay, so next we have The Birth of Venus by Sandro Botticelli. It was painted in 1485 to 86 in Italy. Okay, so we see the inspiration of the Greeks and Romans, because Venus is the Roman goddess of love, and this is also showing her birth. So it's a celebration of life, right? And which is what humanism teaches. We also see her looking like a human person or a woman, right? And then in the shell, we see the example of chiaroscuro, where there's lights and darks, right? And it obviously looks very realistic. We can see this angel breathing life into her, and this woman over here ready to cover her and catch her. So yes, this is another famous Renaissance painting. And as mentioned, my bestie went to Italy and she actually saw the painting in person. So she has this picture here to show you like the actual size of it, which is kind of big, but not that big, right? It's like a cuadro. Okay, we also have the Last Supper, which we have talked about. This is by Leonardo da Vinci. It was painted in 1495 to 1498 in Italy, and it's the last meal that Jesus had before he was going to be betrayed. And so we see that he looks very calm, and everybody around him is kind of stressing out and concerned, and we see a lot of emotion and expression. And this is not a secular painting. It is religious, but we see a balance between religion and humanism, because no one has a halo. They all look like regular people and doing an everyday thing, like having dinner, right? We see food at the table. We also see like perspective in the background, because in the back we can see like the outside of nature, and it looks really far away and kind of blurry, right? And they look more closer up to the front, and there's a lot of like shading details and so forth. So really famous painting. We have the School of Athens by Raphael. This is a fresco in the Apostolic Palace in the Vatican from 1509 to 1511 in Italy. And another one that has like a lot of details, like in the arches, right? Like there's arches that show that there's distance in the back. There's a lot of detail everywhere in the painting. And this is another example of like humanism, because one, it is inspired by the Greeks. It's a school of Athens, and then a school demonstrates that it's a place of learning. And so in the middle, we actually see famous philosophers like Socrates and Plato, and some mathematicians, right? Over here, we see like someone at a desk, someone writing. I believe even Pythagoras is in here. But yeah, all of this shows humanism, because it represents like learning, discussion. We see people doing all kinds of things, right? There's expressions, there's movement. We can see that there's like interactions between the people in the painting. Oh, there we go. Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and Pythagoras. So there you go. Those are the famous Greek philosophers and mathematicians. So School of Athens. Oh, and Raphael. All right, so here is my friend again, right? She looks so tiny, but I wanted to show you the proportions of this painting. So like she looks really tiny, because this is actually like on a whole wall. So this one is a huge fresco. All right, The Creation of Adam. This is by Michelangelo Buonarroti. This is a fresco on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, and it was done from 1508 to 1512 in Italy. So this is Adam, and from Adam and Eve. So this is a biblical painting, and this is supposed to be God, right? And he's being held by some angels, but you can see that the angels also look human, because they don't have any halos or wings. And God looks like a powerful, older, wise man, right? We don't know what God looks like, but this is making him look human. And then he is giving life or creating Adam right here with this touch. And in Adam, we could see that there's a lot of details in the muscles. We could see proportion, like the understanding of the human body, and chiaroscuro with all the shading that's going on. So this is the Sistine Chapel, and there's actually a lot of paintings that go along with it, right? Like he did the whole ceiling and all of this. And the creation of Adam is actually one panel in the ceiling. So that must have been really difficult to paint on the ceiling, right? Like, because you have to be looking up. So it's right here, right? But there's other panels that also make up the Sistine Chapel artwork, right? But this is one of the famous panels here. All right, were there any female Renaissance artists? Yes, they are much less famous than the men, and there weren't as many because of sexism and lack of schooling for girls, but there were very few exceptions. So we have Sister Plautia Nelli. She was a self-taught nun artist and the first known female Renaissance painter of Florence, and she painted this Last Supper, which is very skilled. So this is a 7 by 2 meter oil on canvas, and it's in the Basilica of Santa Maria Novella in Florence, Italy. So you can see that she's very different from Leonardo da Vinci's, but still very talented for someone who is self-taught. So these women were very rare, but they did exist, and they were very talented. Sofonisba Anguissola was the daughter of a noble family who worked with Michelangelo. So this is her famous painting, The Chess Game, in 1555. So it's depicting her and her sisters, right? So we can see humanism definitely being shown here because she painted herself and her family, and they're doing something fun, like spending time together playing a chess game. Right, Lavinia Fontana is also regarded as the first female career artist in Western Europe. She was able to support her husband and 11 kids as an artist and as a painter. So this is a portrait of a lady with a lapdog. She painted this in 1595. So yes, these women existed. They were talented, and they are not as well known, but they were there, and they were extraordinary. Okay, this is it for your 6.1.